welcome to the Championship Wrap. I'm Eloise Sawyer, joined as always with Andrew Henderson. Hendo, I hate to be cliche, but it was an awesome weekend. The weather absolutely was incredible for a weekend that was providing 2 games of rugby league on the Friday and also on the Easter Monday, and there were some fantastic games in the Championship.
Oh, there certainly was, Eloise. It was a great weekend of rugby league football in the Championship, and some really interesting results that we're going to come to in a moment, which will affects now the table and the dynamic of the table. So some great results for some teams, others not so great. But like I said, it was a fantastic weekend of rugby league action there in the Championship.
Well, let's start with Featherston Rovers 42 over York 12. This is a dominant display for Featherston, who were unable to come away with a win yesterday against Toronto.
Yeah.
But Friday kicking off with Dane Chisholm on debut. He scored 18 points and he seems to really have made his mark there.
Yeah, he certainly did. I mean, he's come in on loan from the Bradford Bulls and, like I said, was very, very instrumental and pivotal in a lot of the good work that Featherston produced on that Good Friday game. And like you said, scored a try, a lot of try assists within the game. I think 7 from 9 he converted on the day. But
it's
certainly
interesting how one player can actually make that much of an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know the type of player that Dane is. He certainly has a real attacking spark, doesn't he? He's quite expressive and inventive and creative, and obviously proved a real thorn in the York side on Friday there. And I think that was probably just reward for Ryan Carr and his men, because they've had some tough defeats in recent weeks and have been playing pretty well in his eyes, but haven't quite done enough to get the results. So I know he was really
inconsistent, really.
Yeah, they just haven't been quite good enough, but they've been playing quite reasonably well. So I think, and I'm sure he's been pretty pleased with getting that result on the Good Friday. York just had an off day, didn't they? I mean, they've been really, really good in this Betfred Championship season so far. It just had a bit of an off day, as we'll see in the highlights coming up.
Let's take a look at it now.
Featherston on the attack now. That's King, nice wide pass to Chisholm. He throws the tunnel pass there to Sutcliffe, and Sutcliffe gets on the outside of his man and opens the scoring for the Featherston Rovers. Great try there from Sutcliffe. Great pass selection there from Jane Chisholm. Chisholm bouncing across the line. Out the back to Bussey, squares up, nice short pass to Davies, who line breaks. Great ball there to Render, shows out. Comes back on the inside to Walters. Oh, that's a great planned move there from the Featherston Rovers, and Walters extends the lead. Fantastic try. York now, ball goes out the back to Spears. He shows and goes, and he burrows his well over. Well done there, Tim Spears. Featherston now on the attack. King out of dummy half. Wide pass to Chisholm. Puts the grubber kick in. It bounces off Hayes' leg. And Sutcliffe with his second of the day. Pounces on the loose ball. Got the bounce for him. Short side attack now from Featherston. Bussey, short pass. Great outline from Davies. That's a great try there for the big man to extend the lead for the Featherston Rovers. King, wide pass now to Chisholm. At the line, Chisholm, wide ball over the top there to Hardcastle. Steps off the left, gets in between 2 would-be tacklers, and that's a strong finish from Hardcastle. Should have been stopped there by the Knights. Great finish from him. Bussey tips on the Lockwood. Out the back now to King. Wide pass, Chisholm, shimmies, promotes the ball now to Hay. That's great quick hands from Brad Day to Hardcastle, and Hardcastle beats his man. Not the best defending from the York City Knights. Coach Ford will be disappointed. Great try from Hardcastle. York on the attack now. Horn. Pass goes loose out the back. Scooped up with a one-hand pick up there. Silky skills from Chisholm, and he's got the pace. And he's been instrumental today as Dane Chisholm in this Featherston attack. And he punches the air. Great try for him to cap up a good day. Robinson shows, goes, dummies, gets through. Robinson on the break now. Sam Scott in support. Davies chasing hard. He's been sniped there, John Davies. And Sam Scott will race away to get a consolation try for the York City Knights. And John Davies seems to be in trouble there. The hamstring seemed to be going as he was in chase support. And that's the full-time score. Featherston 42, York City Knights 12. A great day for that man, Dane Chisholm.
Up next, we have Halifax 26, Bradford 33. Halifax were in control of this game. They were leading 26-12 at half-time. It looked like they would have had this one in the bag, but Bradford Bulls, they managed to come up with a way to take the 2 points.
Yeah, fantastic result for Bradford. I think that might mean it's now 5 wins on the trot. That's including both competitions from the Championship and the Coral Challenge Cup. But, that's a fantastic result for Bradford. And like you just said there, Eloise, Halifax at home, I think would have been favoured to win the game. They were in control there, half-time, were in front. Second half extended the lead up to 26 points to 12 and looked like they were going to go on to sort of kick on and take the game. But remarkable last sort of 20 minutes there from Bradford, to score 21 unanswered points.
They've had a few of those gutsy comebacks where they've held on, even though they are trailing, they've managed to come up with it and not put their heads down and sort of, accept defeat, and that's obviously surprised Halifax.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic last 20 minutes from the Bulls. Elliot Mincello, I think, has been in really impressive form of late for them. He's been pretty pivotal and instrumental in a lot of the good work that they're doing. I had another fantastic performance from him. But even when we look back on Bradford early in the season, when they weren't getting those results, they were always competing hard. They were always in the fight. I think their biggest loss was by 14 points. So they were always in games, but just couldn't quite get across the line. But they've certainly turned that form around, haven't they, in recent weeks? And I think now sitting in the top 5 is a fantastic effort.
Certainly is. Up next, Swinton at 36, Rochdale 22. Impressive outing for the Lions. They completed their sets and executed well to get this win, which is for two sides that are sitting around the bottom of the table together. This is an impressive result for them.
Look, this was a huge game, because both teams going into it were only on 2 points with 1 win each. So you could argue it was a bit of a 4-pointer. I know there was a lot of hype around the game leading into it, and like I said, Rochdale just, unfortunately for them, just didn't do enough in that first half. Swinton really came out the blocks. They were on fire.
Mike Butt with 4 tries.
4 tries from Mike Butt was outstanding. But it was that first half performance from Swinton. They really blew Rochdale away in that first half. They were outstanding, really clinical in their execution. They're a decent attacking side, as we've seen, but they were brilliant. I think at one point they extended their lead to 30 points to 6. Rochdale showed some fight back and some spirit at the end there to get a few late tries to make the scoreline look a bit more respectable. But that was a real comprehensive performance from the Swinton Lions, and well done to them.
Another impressive game from Friday that we've decided is one of the big highlights from Easter Friday was Sheffield 44, Toulouse 16. Now this was one that I certainly didn't see coming, just given how Toulouse had been performing this season. And for Sheffield to put 44 points on, that says a lot about their attack, but it says more about their defence given what sort of ball game Toulouse do play.
Absolutely, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Eloise. I think you look at it more from a defensive point of view. I mean, Sheffield Eagles are at home. I mean, that's a fast track, 4G pitch, glorious day, glorious sunshine, and we know Toulouse in those conditions are normally red hot, aren't they? They can score points. They were missing Jonathan Ford, but William Bartow, who's a very good replacement to come in. So there's no excuses from them. They still have some key players playing on the day, but you've got to give credit to Sheffield. That was an absolutely outstanding performance. Anthony Thackeray, the veteran halfback, a hat-trick for him. Very, very instrumental in a lot of the good work there from those guys. But to score 44 points against a very good Toulouse side is exceptional.
Confidence boost.
But to hold them and only concede 16, I think, is a phenomenal performance there from Sheffield. So, looking at the way they're playing at the moment, they now go level with Toulouse in the championship at the moment. And like I said, that was a fantastic performance from them. Really, really well done.
Well, let's take a look at Easter Monday and how all the results fared there. Batley Bulldogs 32, Swinton 18. And this is back-to-back wins over the Easter weekend for the Bulldogs. And that certainly is the confidence boost and the momentum they need at this time of the season.
Absolutely. Well done to Matt Diskin and his team, because they've been under a lot of pressure. There's been a lot of questions being asked of the side, been asked of the coach. In recent weeks, they have not had a great start to the season. Their home form hasn't been impressive.
Could you say this is a season-defining sort of moment?
Possibly. This could be the catalyst now that transforms them. And sometimes it's funny, you get to this sort of Easter period, and we've seen it in the past before with teams that this Easter period can sometimes set up your season, but it also can sometimes turn your season around. And hopefully for Batley and their fans, this moment over the Easter period is going to be the turning point for them. Back-to-back wins. They won the heavy woolen derby, I should say, against the Jewsbury Rams at their place on the Friday, and then to back it up with a win at home there.
Matt Ashton with a hat-trick. Plenty of hat-tricks this week.
Yeah, plenty of hat-tricks, but to back it up with a home win there against Swinton, who would have been buoyed with a lot of confidence coming off the back of their win against Rochdale, is a fantastic effort there from the Batley Bulldogs. So well done to them.
Another big game over the weekend, which got pretty fiery. I was out there at Toronto versus Featherston, of course, at the LD Nutrition Stadium. Toronto 23, Featherston 14. Now, Toronto were pretty impressive in the first half, but Featherston certainly didn't give up, and they really did have a dig in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, for me, it was probably a game of two halves. In some respects, I believe Toronto were very good in that first half. Probably felt they may have should have put more points on the board because they had a lot of control, a lot of field position. But the Featherston side, just like you said, kept turning up for each other, defended really, really well. I mean, a fantastic try. They scored there by Carey. That was an acrobatic finish. If anybody gets the chance to see it, it was a fantastic. It's a world-class finish. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a great try. But like you said, they kept themselves in the game. 13-6 up. They come out second half, and
they managed to take the lead.
Featherston came out the block second half. I don't know what Ryan Carr said to him at half time, what he put in their water bottles, but they came out with so much energy and intent and purpose. And like you said, they got themselves in front, 14 points to 13, and it took Toronto the last 5 minutes to score 2 late tries to snatch it away from Featherston. So I think they'll be gutted, Featherston, because I think they've competed really, really well in that game against a very, very good Toronto side, and off the back of a fantastic win against York a few days earlier, they'll be hurting inside. They didn't sort of get that one in the end, but well done to Toronto, because
they
in previous
were really
weeks,
on their...
Hey, they had to defend, didn't they? That second half, they were under a lot of pressure. Featherston had a lot of field position and opportunity. They kept turning up for each other, and credit to the Toronto Wolfpack. They found a way to grind that one out in the end and take the win, so well done to them.
Up next, you've got Leigh, Centurions 34, Jewsbury 12. Now, an impressive win for them, for Leigh, to get back to winning ways, but this one has come at a cost with a few serious injuries. Yeah, it has, unfortunately, for the Leigh Centurions. Like you said, fantastic. A hat-trick for both Ian Thornley and a hat-trick for James Bentley. Hat-tricks all weekend. I know, it's been a hat-trick-a-thon. It's been unbelievable. But, great for those two players to get the hat-tricks and get the result. And for Leigh to bounce back after a disappointing loss on Friday. They bounced back with a great win at home there. But like you said, they're at a cost. Greg McNally, I believe, has gone off with a fractured eye socket. Johnny Pownell, suspected ACL injury. And Josh Wood with an elbow injury. Key positions.
Key positions. You've got your fullback and your halfback there. So it's worrying. It'd be certainly concerning for John Duffy. As we know, at this level in the Championship, not all these part-time sides have the biggest squads or the deepest squads. So there is an argument, to say that should the part-time teams be playing these 2 games over the Easter period, I'm probably thinking maybe not, because it does put a lot of pressure on their squads, and in some respects, from the Leigh point of view, if they've lost a few players here now for a long period of time, that really could transform the season for the worse, not for the better. So, worrying times there for the Leigh Centurions, but fantastic for them to get a good result there back at home.
And last but not least, York 17, Widnes 10. Now, York obviously had suffered the defeat on the Friday. They've come out against Widnes, and they've beaten for the first time since 1975. Widnes have won the last 19 games. How's that for some facts? And
yeah, they have.
1975, that is really impressive for York, and it really shows that they were able to bounce back from that defeat, and maybe that's what they needed to put on a performance like that. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really pleased for York there, because they've been able to come back after what was a disappointing performance against Featherston. And let's take nothing away, Featherston were exceptional on the Friday against them, and York were never in that contest. And to come back, I know Coach James Ford will be really, really pleased with the response from his team. It was important that they came back and got a result against a very good Widnes side, because they met each other recently in the Challenge Cup, and obviously the scorelines were a little bit different. So it's worth noting that York were 10-0 down at one stage with 46 minutes. They were trailing. They hadn't even put any points on the board, and they managed to come back and not, accept defeat, as you'd say, at that point of the game. Yeah, and that'll be really humbling for Coach James Ford to know that, and for the team, it will give them confidence that, like you said, they weren't in the game and they were struggling to find a way to break down a very good Widnes side. But they stuck to their process, and they never, try to change things or whatever, and they just believed in what they were doing, and they just come through the other side at the back end, and it shows great character and discipline from that York side. But great result for those guys, a really good result, and keeps them up in that top end of the table. Certainly were some great results over the weekend. Well, let's preview round 12. This is set to be another big one in the Championship. It starts with Toulouse hosting the York City Knights. So let's see how York can respond after 1 loss and 1 win. They do go to Toulouse, who are bouncing off a loss, so that will 1 loss over the weekend. So that'll be an interesting one for at least, but then they take it to their home ground. They're pretty hard to beat at home when they throw the ball around as well for Toulouse. I'm going to say Toulouse for this one. I think it's going to be a really, really good contest, because I know York will certainly go there with confidence and belief that the way they play, they're a team. What York have got, they've got the ability to grind teams down, and they stay in the fight, and I'm certain that they will come up with a plan to try and thwart this Toulouse attack. But
I think I'm with you. I think Toulouse at home will probably just edge it, but only just. I think it's going to be a really tough fought contest.
Barrow Raiders up against the Featherston Rovers. Featherston are travelling up there to Barrow. It'll be a tough one for Barrow at home. I think they've been struggling a little bit of late, but my tip is for Featherston to get this one.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've seen enough in the last couple of games. I think the introduction of Dane Chisholm has injected a bit more life into the side. Barrow, I still don't know where they're at the moment. They are struggling. They have been struggling in recent weeks. So, it's going to be a tough one for them again, but I tip a Featherston win.
Batley Bulldogs up against the Leigh Centurions. I'm going to take Batley Bulldogs here. I think they've got what it takes, and they've proven with those back-to-back wins that perhaps they can improve that Leigh Centurions maybe back to winning ways, but perhaps they could get this job done. Yeah,
I agree with you. I'm going to go with Batley on this one as well, and I just think that I think this Easter period for them
clicked for them.
I think they've turned a corner through the Easter period. Back-to-back wins. They're back at home again, which is great for them. I think they'll nick this one. I think Leigh, with a few of their injuries from the weekend, is going to be tough to find replacements. I think Batley are going to keep building off the back of their recent success.
Bradford Bulls host the Rochdale Hornets, and I'm going to take a Bradford Bulls win here. I just think Rochdale have not being able to they're stuck in the games, but I just don't think they're going to be able to get this one over a Bradford Bulls. Yeah,
I agree with you. I just don't think Rochdale have got enough quality, and I think the way the Bulls are playing at the moment, they've got some real momentum behind them. You know, they're playing really good football. They've shown that they've got the ability to control games and win them. They've shown they've got the ability to come back when things are not going for them, and I just think they're going to have too much firepower for the Rochdale Hornets.
Sheffield Eagles host Halifax, and I'm going to take a Sheffield Eagles win here. I think they've been really impressive in recent weeks. They're hanging around the top of the table, and Halifax have just been a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah, the start of this game is going to be key. You know, if Sheffield are slow out the blocks and they give Halifax a bit of an early ascendancy, then
maybe they can hold
Halifax
on.
will grow in confidence and belief, and it could be a tough day at the office for the Eagles. But if Eagles start well and get off to a good start, I'm not sure Halifax are going to have the mental capacity, the mental steel and strength to come back, because of the fact that they're not in good form at the moment.
Widnes Vikings host Jewsbury Rams, and I take a Widnes win here, just given they're coming off that loss to York. I think they've definitely got all the troops. And on paper, I think Widnes.
No, I agree. I think back at home, I think they'll assess how they attack that Easter period. I know there was a few changes on the Monday from the Friday. I think the coach may look at that and think he needs to get some troops back in that may have missed out on that game. And I just think they'll have enough in them that they'll get a response. I think they'll learn some lessons from that loss away to York. But I think it'll be a Widnes win against Jewsbury. Yep.
Last but not least, Toronto Wolfpack have their first home game of the season at Lamport Stadium over there in Toronto, and they are hosting the Swinton Lions. It's hard not to tip the Toronto Wolfpack, just given they are 4 points clear at the top of the table, so they've got my bets. Yeah,
I just think it's going to be tough. After that Easter period for a side like Swinton that don't have a big squad at their disposal, the luxury of Toronto being full-time and having that extra recovery and interventions in place and time to get their bodies right with the quality that they have, I think will be too strong for the Swinton Lions.
Round 12 certainly is going to be very exciting. Some great clashes this weekend. Hendo, thanks so much for your time as always, and we'll be back next week to go through all those results from round 12 and, of course, preview round 13.